Hello, 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 students. Lesson 22, see out a grammar for Biblical Hebrew. Lesson 22, page 247 and following. You knew this one was coming. We had object suffixes on prepositions, li, laka, bachem, bahen, all that stuff. We had suffixes on the call perfect. And now we're going to get suffixes on the imperfect. Okay? As well as the imperative. Page 247, he gives you two examples right up top. The concept is just what you'd expect it to be. Eshlachaka, eshlachacha, I will send you. Shalach being the root there, send, he sends. Eshlach, I will send. Eshlachaka, I will send cha, you. Okay? Or take the imperative, which we just learned a lesson ago. Shalach, send. Shalachini, send me. Okay? So we can do this too now. Yeah, you get vowel changes, all kinds of vowel changes. As you expect, things reduce. Read all about that on page 247 and 248. But you'll see on page 248 and 249, well, 248 really there in the chart, our endings are just what we'd hoped for, right? Hu, ha, cha, k, ni, chem. There's no second feminine plural endings on any imperfect in the Bible, so he doesn't even list that, but it would be chen if there were, and nu for us. Okay? No big deal. There are some alternate kind of endings on page 249, which are not too strange. They involve this weird phenomenon of having the N, where the N appears in some of those forms, like, even where it doesn't appear, like the third masculine singular could also be nu instead of who. How does that work? Well, sometimes you get an N sliding in there, okay? It's just something that happens. Just was the way that words were spoken sometimes, is there'd be an N before the who. So N-hu, third masculine singular, page 249 in the chart. N-hu went to Enu. The N just assimilated. And you can see how that works, like, say, for the second masculine singular. At one point, some of this might have been en-cha at the end of the word. And it just goes to echa. And then that N actually shows up as a little dagesh. So if you see a little dagesh there in some of those forms, and you're like, what's happening? Or you see an N where maybe you didn't expect one, that could indicate some things listed in that chart at the top, page 249. That's a good thing to know. It's a little obscure, but it's helpful to know. I mean, I didn't learn that until I was in my doctoral program. I didn't really understand that, page 249, that issue. But I think all the better for you if you understand how that works now. Besides the normal endings, you also get this N thing sidling in there, which then causes a dagesh or some other things. Page 249D, third hey verbs drop the hey before the suffix. So, evne, I will build. Avnech, I will build you. Can't imagine what that would possibly mean, I will build you, but that's the example. Yir'eh, he will see, goes to yir'eni, he will see me. You lose that final hey. Aneh, answer, imperative, goes to aneni, answer me. Okay. So that's how that works. Now, Seow is going to introduce us to yet a second concept in this lesson, that of the infinitive. And there will be a couple of different kinds of infinitives that we'll learn about. We think of the infinitive maybe in English as being a verb with the word to, T-O before it. So like to walk, to kill, to love, to heal, all that kind of stuff. You can do infinitives like this in Hebrew. So take the word katav, he wrote. If instead you add a lamed on the front, and you say lichtov, lichtov means to write. Lishmor, to keep. Okay, so there's a way of actually saying that. That's why way back when I told you that Seow would provide the definition for a word like katav as to write, I said actually there's a form for to write, and it's not katav, which means he wrote. Okay, that form is the infinitive. specifically this thing called the infinitive construct, which is not what we're going to be looking at this lesson. In fact, if you flip forward to lesson 255, page 255, lesson 23, Seow will introduce us to the infinitive construct at that point. For now, he's going to start us on this thing called the call infinitive absolute. Okay, pages 249 then through 252, the rest of the lesson, introduce us to this concept. So let's take a look. Page 249, number 2, the call infinitive absolute. There are two forms in Hebrew that are called infinitives: the infinitive absolute and the infinitive construct. The infinitive construct will be treated in lesson 23. Okay, the absolute is not inflected for gender, number, or person. So when you're parsing something and you say call infinitive absolute, don't say first person, second person, third person. Don't say masculine or feminine, and don't say plural or singular. Okay, it's just call infinitive, either absolute or construct, and a root and a meaning. Okay, so that's convenient, very convenient. The proper form of the call infinitive absolute is looks like this: katol, katol. See that? Page 249, 2a, katol. But it's most often written with the vav, the mater, as katol. The weak roots occasion no surprises, but note the following. In third guttural roots, the call infinitive has a furtive patach, so it could be, it's not just shamo for here, it's shamoa, okay? In third hay roots, you lose the hay. So it could look like, well, it could look like galo without the hay, or it could look like galo with the hay. In the middle of vav yod roots, like kum and sim and so on, the infinitive absolute is just like that: kom, som, just with an o in the middle. Okay. How is it used? Well, here's another piece to this weird verbal puzzle that Hebrew's been giving us for the last 10 lessons or so. Okay. Pages 250 through 251. I'll just read a couple of these. I want you to read carefully every example that he gives. Maybe not even so you'll pick up every single nuance of the call infinitive absolute. I'll tell you which ones are the major ones, but also it'll help you practice with your reading and practice with your vocab and practice with your translation, okay? Page 250, number 3 then. The most simple use of the call infinitive absolute, or any infinitive absolute, is that it's a kind of verbal noun. A participle is a verbal noun, and there's even quite a bit of overlap then between an infinitive absolute and a participle. Page 253a. Harog bakar v'shachot tzon. Do you see the two infinitives absolute? Harog and shachot, a-o. How is this translated? Harag means slay, and shachat means slaughter, so harog means slaying, add an ing on the end. Slaying bakar, cattle, and shachot, it's hard to say, shachot, slaughtering sheep. Okay. Proverbs 25:27, achol davash harboth lo tov. Achal means he eats. Achol, eating. Eating davash, honey, harboth, abundantly, a lot. Lo tov, not good. So it is not good to eat much honey. So you see here how you can deal with the translation to help it work in English the way you need it to work. Eating honey abundantly is not good, or it is not good to eat much honey. Do you notice how when we translate Hebrew then, we often start with a kind of wooden concept? What does the participle mean? What does the perfect mean? What does the imperfect mean? And then we will say it that way, but then we'll move toward actually ironing it out, smoothing it out, translating it in English in a way that expresses the exact concept we're talking about, but may not do so in English in the equivalent grammatical forms that you find in Hebrew. This happens in all acts of translation, okay? 3b, this is a very common use of the infinitive absolute. It'll be like in Hebrew they'll use a verb twice in a row, first in the infinitive absolute and then in the imperfect, which is a way of emphasizing the certainty or the decisiveness of the verb. Here's a very common one, page 250b, Genesis 2:17. Mot tamuth, you shall certainly die. I mean, if you use the concept above of the verbal noun, you might say, well, wouldn't you translate it, dying, you will die, okay? Or below that, Genesis 18:10, shov ashuv, Returning, I will return. Okay, but that's not quite how it works. It's translated, Moth Tamuth, you will certainly die. Shov Ashuv. So, Moth Tamuth, second person, masculine singular, you shall certainly die. Shov Ashuv, I will, Ashuv, certainly return. Okay? And Seow points out sometimes even the absolute will come after word, but almost always it comes first. 2 Kings 5:11. Yetse Yatso, he would surely come out. Okay. You can also use the infinitive absolute after an imperative to intensify it. So it's kind of like the meaning in B we find in C, Numbers 11:15. Hageni na haog. Kill me. There's a perfect there. Or I should have said horgeni there. Horgeni na haog, because the patak there occurs in a closed unaccented syllable. Kill me. Not untranslated there, really. Kill me, haog, infinitive absolute, right away. Isaiah 55:2. Shim'u shamoa elai. Elai, I should say. Listen, really, shamoa, listen to me. Really listen to me, okay? Really listen to me. Then, D, page 250-251, frequently authors will use two infinitive absolutes, infinitives absolute, with the second one indicating an action occurring simultaneously with the first one. Okay, page 251, Judges 14:9 and 1 Samuel 6:12. Vayelek, notice our vav consecutive there from halak. Vayelek halok ve'achol, and he went along walking and eating. And he went walking and eating, and he went along eating, would be the translation. 1 Samuel 6:12. Halaku halok vega o. They walked, walking and lowing. Okay. Lowing like cattle. Okay. So do you notice the repetition there of halak, halok, and ga'o? Okay. They went along lowing. Because halok is used very often in these kind of constructions, Seow points out that this particular form, halok, can almost be like an adverb, meaning continuance. So, Genesis 8:5. V'hamayim hayu halok v'chatzor. Now the waters, they were halok v'chatzor. Chatzor means abating or coming back or being restrained. Halok then means going about being restrained or continually abating. Okay. You can read his other examples here of some finer nuances, right, of how the infinitive absolute is learned or used, and we're just going to have to learn some of its major functions as a verbal noun and as an intensifier or as an adverb, and then kind of work to apply those in specific circumstances. Okay. Read the examples on page 251 that I didn't read, and top of page 252. You've got some more vocab there, mostly nouns, but verbs. I realize by this point, the memorizing of the vocab is becoming an issue. You just have to do it. You can't read the sentences if you don't know what the words are. Okay? I'd love to be there for you, just whispering over your shoulder, telling you what the root is every time, and then you just kind of plug it in. But I won't be. Okay? So you have to memorize these for yourself. Okay? And that's it.